I'm extremely excited today for starting this call. And let me bring in my co-host for today, Derek from the Blockswap Network team.
Hey, Landscape, thanks for having me here. Excited to chat with everybody and to be doing this community call with you again. I know we did one a few months back, and now it seems like there's a lot more going on. It's exciting to share with you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. And honestly, I have to say that probably the fact that you announced that you were going to give away 40 Dappnodes, that might have something to do with this the very special number of attendance that we have today, probably.
I
So
thought they were all here just for you, Lansky, and they want to know more about Dappnodes more than anything.
thanks, Derek. That's very kind. Um, so yes, you will know how you could earn these 40 Dappnodes. 1 out of 40. I doubt that one person will get them all. But yeah, even I am excited about this because I know a little bit about what we're going to be talking today, and it's freaking exciting. And it's freaking exciting because we're going to be talking about how to reduce the barriers, the economical barriers for staking. That means that people that were sort of like phased out of staking because they didn't have 32 ETH, which admittedly it's like quite a steep amount. There might have more options coming up, and I think the Stakehouse team has something to do with it. But I don't want to spoil anything else. I think it's time for opening the floor to Derek, who's gonna do a presentation.
Hey everybody, I just started the presentation. I'll make this quick and then go through, how you can get your free Dappnode because I know that's why a lot of people are here. And I'll go through a product demo, but then I'll be open to any questions so that people can ask away and get, all of their questions out of the way on this call while I'm here, while you have access. So, I think everybody can see my screen. So Lansky actually took some of this intro, but I guess, as of right now, it's like, how do you bring the benefits of ETH staking to the everyday user? And currently, for a lot of people, that's tough to become a solo staker for various reasons. There's complexities, which Dappnode is taking care of, and that's amazing on the node operating side. There are high barriers to entry. 32 ETH for a few people is a lot of money. And, some people, when there are these smaller ways or more fractional ways to get involved, some people might not like the risks of the current liquid staking markets, or they just don't agree with what's going on there. And if we want to really get ETH staking to the everyday user, we need a derivative ETH that's more close to ETH, just like wrapped ETH, something that can be moved in and out of ETH pretty easily without the need for deep liquidity. So, Stakehouse is the product, and we have Stakehouse LSD networks on top. So we are going to mostly be talking about Stakehouse LSD networks, which are very, very exciting. But first, there needs to be this understanding of what Stakehouse is. And Stakehouse is a delegation protocol and accounting protocol, all automated, built for Ethereum staking. Now, what it does is it can match node operators with liquidity providers, and this can be done trustlessly, permissionlessly, or maybe not permissionlessly, but we'll get to that in the future. But just based off of what it is out of the box, it is permissionless, it's trustless, it's entirely built on smart contracts, and anybody can use it. It is completely free to use, to set up. There aren't any commissions collected by Blockswap or Stakehouse, and that's pretty much it. So then when we're talking about Stakehouse, what it does is it ties this connection between the consensus layer and the execution layer. And what I mean by that is without any use of an oracle, any rewards generated on the consensus layer can be relayed to the execution layer on a per validator basis rather than a pooled rate. Now, there can be pooled rates, and that's fine, but at its core, it allows for the complete customization at the validator level. And what this is, this, I guess, could be considered another form of liquid staking, but it really ties back to people being able to interact with the execution layer to get access to consensus layer assets and rewards. This can be thought of more similarly to LP shares of validators, kind of like an LP pool in Uniswap or a DEX. And essentially what it does is it opens up more modular ability, similar to people start to do more things with LP tokens. And now people can do things with fractional ownership of these validators. So it's very important to understand that any ETH that is, or any derivative ETH that is in the execution layer can be accounted for 1-to-1 at all times with an ETH inside of a specific validator, not a group of validators. I mean, it could be a group of validators again, but if somebody wanted to say, hey, this is my ETH, which validator is it in? What rate is this ETH earning? They can go check that out. So what does this look like for people who want to coordinate, right? So at its core, just baseline, it is allows for completely permissionless networks. And what I mean by this is people can, node operators, any of them can join. Anybody can provide liquidity, and it all on smart contracts automates. It takes the liquidity and it matches it with a node operator, and then it takes care of all the accounting in between. So anytime the node operator earns rewards, whatever it owes to the other participants, it pays out, and then the rest goes to the node operator. So people can break this up into small collectives. They could token gate it, saying, hey, if you want to be a node operator here, you have to own 20 or 100 tokens to get in. It could be done with large institutions who don't want to mix their assets with other people, or maybe they can't mix their assets for whatever reason, and they just want to offer their own LSD network for their clients. And one of the most exciting things to me is this individual level. And what I mean by this is if somebody has friends and family, they're a node operator, they have friends and family who want access to this ETH staking yield, but they don't want the complexities of needing to figure out, okay, the validator earned this much, now I need to pay people out this, and it becomes tricky. What these LSD networks let this person do is they could go in and say, set a whitelisted set of addresses and be like, hey, mom, dad, friend, all of your wallets are whitelisted. If you ever want to deposit ETH here, you can deposit ETH. It'll go straight to me. I run the validator, and you can claim your own rewards. You can get your own ETH. You don't have to come back and talk to me. So whatever happens, this is always available. So what does this look like on a more granular level for node operators? And so for node operators, if somebody wants to set up, let me take a step back. And if somebody wants to set up an LSD network, I'm going to go back here actually. If somebody wants to set up an LSD network, they are able to do so with the templates. It takes about 30 minutes to set up the network, and there aren't any fees associated with it, where it's just the gas cost of deploying. And people can then customize using Stakehouse Academy. There's a bunch of templates if people want to add on some of those things that I was talking about. It would just be another template that's available to use. So back to this granular level for node operators. Now, right now, if somebody wants to stake and have complete autonomy over their node, not have to choose a particular setup, it takes 32 ETH. But what Stakehouse LSD networks allow is you to stake validators with only 4 ETH and source the rest of the liquidity from the community trustlessly. Now, what's very cool about this is the node operator and the node and the validator and everything to do here is 100% compatible with all ETH client and node infrastructure. That means any of the current strategies or hardware or software that people are running right now is compatible with Stakehouse LSD networks. There's no need to change anything that people are doing. If you're already running a node, you're already running a validator, you're qualified. You know what you're doing. You're good. So again, this is 100% autonomy over the node operation. And what does this node operator get in return? Well, the person who stakes the validator and sets up the node, and I should clarify, when I say node operator, when I'm talking today, I'm referring in the sense to the person who actually staked the validator. Now, they could take those keys and give them to another node operator, but it's the person who's actually put up that 4 ETH to stake the validator. So what that person gets is 50% of all the MEV and tips, and they take on all the slashing and leakage risk. So this is basically saying, you are paid directly proportional to how you perform. And yes, these risks and rewards are multiplied by about 4x, because 32 divided by 4, 8, and half of that, so 4, and yeah. So it's basically 4x the risk and rewards. But if somebody is confident in their node operating abilities, which I believe most people are, this is a huge opportunity. And one of the best parts about this is these MEV and tips are paid out in ETH. There is no derivative, there is no synthetic token in between. It is purely ETH rewards for the node operator. So, are there similar alternative solutions? And I saw some people in the chat were asking me to address this, and I will address some of this. And there really aren't similar solutions, and I'll explain why. So Stakehouse uses derivatives, not synthetics. And there's a bit of a misconception on what a derivative is. And if somebody wants to stake an asset and get a derivative asset in return, that asset needs to be staked to be considered a derivative. So Stakehouse, if you put in, say, 10 ETH, you don't get derivatives until that ETH can be accounted for 1-to-1 in the consensus layer. There is no pool beforehand, because I think it's a little bit tough to consider something a derivative if you are, say you put in 10 ETH and that ETH isn't staked, but yet you have a derivative that's yielding on the other side. That's a little bit confusing. So the way that this is possible is by the use of registries rather than oracles. And there isn't just this big pooled rate that all the validators are getting that are paying out to all these tokens. It's actually accounting for each individual validator and the ETH within it. So again, this is the idea of separated assets versus pooled assets. And that doesn't mean that people can't, since Stakehouse is a base layer, it doesn't mean that people can't figure out a way to get particular pooled rates. And it actually allows you natively to pool some rates if you so choose. But there is that optionality for separation. And so all of the MEV and tips are paid out in ETH. Another big thing that we believe at Blockswap and Stakehouse is if you enter, you should be able to exit. And I know withdrawals aren't enabled, and that's okay, because people can still remove validators from the Stakehouse protocol and keep them staked in the consensus layer. So if somebody says, hey, they want to try Stakehouse, and they're like, try it, they say, okay, well, this isn't necessarily for me. Well, that can be then removed and completely ejected from the system, and the assets are still owned by the individual. And again, Stakehouse is compatible with any node. Any node operator can join it. Nobody's stopping anybody from doing anything like that. Okay, so that was a lot of background sort of information. And now we can get into what this DApp looks like and what does it feel like, who are the participants, and anybody, again, can create this LSD network. It takes about 30 minutes. That LSD network can have its own commission and have its own it can collect its own commission, it can collect its own unique rewards, yet all the derivatives are fungible with all other LSD networks. So let's explain who the people are who are providing liquidity now. So protected stakers. These are people who just want a liquid staked ETH. And what they do is they put up 24 ETH towards the validator, and they earn staking rewards. And they are protected from all leakage and slashing risks. But because they earn all of the staking rewards, they're actually earning about 33% higher rate than the current staking rewards rate, because it's 24 derivative ETH get 32 ETH worth of rewards, a full validator to 24 ETH of rewards. The next people who are putting up liquidity are the fees and MEV stakers, and they get to put up about 4 ETH, and these 4 ETH allow them to get 50% of the MEV in tips, and this is paid in ETH. And now the question usually comes up, and I'll try to answer all the questions before people ask them, because I've noticed a few questions that are pretty similar. So the fees and MEV stakers, which validator does their ETH go into? Good question. So they get to, it depends how the network is set up. If somebody says, I don't care which validator it goes into, I just want to get my fees and MEV. I don't know any of these collectives. I don't understand any of these LSD networks. I just want rewards. They can just deposit into a giant pool, and then any LSD network can get funding from this big pool. That's exciting. This person gets their rewards, and the people who are running these networks can get access to liquidity. Now, on the other hand, if they're like, I want to join a specific LSD network, I want to join, whatever network it might be, and I want to be inside of a specific validator that I know my friend is running as part of that network, they can specify that and say, I want to get fees and MEV from my friend's validator, part of this network. So the node operator, all of you here, Dappnode guys, this is why we're here. This is you guys. It only takes 4 ETH to get a validator, and if you need liquidity, you can get the rest of the liquidity from these giant pools that I was discussing, where anybody can go in, deposit their ETH, and you can say, okay, I will run this ETH for you. Again, this is paid in ETH. You are paid in ETH for this. And you have complete control over the validator key. Do whatever you want with it. Let it leak. No, just kidding. Don't let it leak. But like I said, the option's yours. Cool. So, threw a lot of information at everybody. Probably a ton of questions. But let me go through what the product looks like, because I think that will clear up a lot of people's questions. Now, before I show you this, keep in mind this is just a Figma file. We will be doing a testnet very shortly, but as right now, we're working off this Figma file. Okay, so come in here. Somebody has to obviously connect a wallet. You need to know how to use a wallet. That is the bare minimum. If you can use a wallet, you should be good to go. You can get involved with Ethereum staking. Connect the wallet. Now, we are going to take a look at the fees and MEV. Keep in mind that protected staking and fees and MEV flows are pretty much the same. So here we go. We go in, we fees and MEV, we get to enter our amount, and we click confirm. And because this is a Figma file, you get to see all of the pop-ups and errors and take a look at everything in depth. Success, staked ETH. Cool. Now, keep in mind, just because you deposit ETH doesn't mean that it's staked. That's very important. Don't let anybody tell you anything differently. You can't just deposit ETH to have it be staked. So this person's ETH is now sitting here in a ready unstaked position. There's obviously no numbers here right now because Figma file, but this right here, the fees and MEV LP would have a number here, and they could then, we'll get to the rewards after. So now for the node operators, you go in, you deposit your 4 ETH, and you have to drag and drop your deposit data JSON file. You select the LSD network that you want to be a part of. You know, this can be a whole list. The only ones that are listed here are the people that are connected to the giant pools. If somebody wants a private network, it's not going to show up here. That's, you know, that's fine. We've got to respect the privacy. So now we deposit, and cool. Anyways, it's just a gas transaction. I don't know what's going on with my Figma right now. But now that these people have completely deposited, they can take a look at their staked position. This is how much is actually staked. This is how much is unstaked. And we can go to the rewards. Now, you'll notice fees and MEV paid in ETH. Node operators paid in ETH. Protected staking, well, that's paid in DETH because it's liquid staking, right? Protected staking. Can claim the rewards, pretty simple. Now, for managing the validators. Yes. Okay, so you put a validator in, great. Now, as they become available and ready to stake, you can just click here and stake. It tells you how your validator is doing. Is it active? Is it leaking? Is it currently getting staked? Are you waiting for enough ETH? Can you mint the derivatives? So somebody comes in, ready to stake. You need to source your 24 liquidity from the protected stakers. Easy. Source for liquidity for ETH liquidity from fees and MEV stakers. Done. You need to confirm that you have this file and you're ready to go, because it would be a shame if you didn't have everything ready to go when you staked your validator. Again, you have to see the errors because this is a Figma. Cool. So there it is. Then the validator is staked, and you can manage everything from here. Once it's recognized by the consensus layer, you go in, you mint your derivatives. Pretty simple, in my opinion. Anyways, this allows for the complete trustless and permissionless coordination of node operators to liquidities, and allows for the decentralization of Ethereum by allowing many different LSD networks compared to just a handful that are dominating the marketplace. So, how do you get your free Dappnodes? Why everybody's here. We will jump into that right now, and then I will answer all of your questions, because I know a lot of people have been coming to this call because they want to know this information right here. So we are going to be giving away Dappnodes, 40 of them total. And what you need to do is stake 4 ETH as a node operator. I just showed you that flow. Stake 4 ETH as a node operator, and that means sourcing the 24 liquidity and the 4 liquidity and actually having the validator staked. in the consensus layer. Then after that is done, we will have a nice and simple form for you to fill out. And that's just to verify that you've actually staked and you are you and your address. And then you wait back to hear from us, and we will be giving this away to 40 people. Like Lansky said, this isn't giving away. If you stake 40 validators, it's not all going to the same person, but that would not hurt your chances of getting that one validator if there is some competition. So that's what I got. What are the questions? I see the chat's been blown up. I haven't been keeping up with it.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you're just to be clear, you basically need to stake 4 ETH as some sort of like a promise that you will be running this validator, of course, and then you will provide the machine to actually run this validator. Is that correct?
That's correct. So basically, node operator can put up 4 ETH, and in return, they receive a validator and a node to run it on.
Nice. Okay, fantastic. All right, I'm going to let you catch up with the questions here and choose what you want to reply. In the meanwhile, I'm just going to say that those 40 Dappnodes, they are indeed the 64 gigabyte plus 64 gigabyte RAM plus 4 terabytes NVMe. And they are customized. They have custom lids on top, and you can see actually right now on the screen, you can see they have like Stakehouse home staker powered by Dappnode and stuff. And yes, so basically you will be able to have the validator yourself. I think I can answer this question, one of the last questions right here. Would the Dappnode arrive before the validator completes the deposit queue? Well, yes, because you actually choose when you want to mint and actually mint the derivatives and and do the staking flow. If I am correct, like for what I understood from the presentation, so you put those, then you wait for having the rest of the ETH given to you by other people that are just pooling their ETH, that they don't want to run a node. And then once you have your Dappnode, you set up your consensus layer, your execution layer, your validator. You do the flow, the Dappnode flow, and then you go like, oh, all right, I'm going to mint that and I'm going to deposit.
Well, I need to add something here, just for clarity.
Of course. Yeah.
And it's that the minting of derivatives comes after the validator is staked. So
right.
Once your validator is staked and you request the Dappnode, we'll do everything in our power to get it to you as quickly as possible. But the minting of derivatives is only after the validator is staked.
Yes.
So,
yeah, you're absolutely correct.
There might need to be a in between solution, or it's just a little bit of leakage in between. Okay, so I see some questions that I certainly should address. Somebody has asked, if DETH is directly associated with this specific node, then I assume DETH will be treated more like an NFT and sold on OpenSea. And that is actually the complete opposite direction of what we're trying to do with DETH. DETH is 100% fungible between all LSD networks, all nodes, all validators. It can be completely and entirely fungible. How it can have unique yield is because there is an accounting token on the other side which connects the DETH and the person to a particular yield. This is similar to, an Aave A tokens or a compound C token type structure. Just reading through a few more questions here. And yes, so staking rewards goes to the DETH, and the node operators are the ones that get all of the MEV and fees and all of the network revenue that goes with it.
if I understand correctly here, Derek, does that mean that, so for every validator, there are how many, 24 ETH that come from the protected staking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that the revenue that comes from one validator, so from 32 ETH, actually gets divided between only 24 ETH, so the yield is actually a lot higher?
Yes, yes, exactly. So that's the reason why people might want to have that protected staking if they just want a liquid staking derivative and they don't want to have to worry about the sporadic risks and rewards of the MEV and fees or the tips. They are able to just do protected staking and get it's about 33% more rewards because it's only 24 ETH, and it's not the 28 ETH grass pond crypto, because the node operators are putting up 4 ETH, the MEVs and here, I think I got this here. The MEVs and fees stakers are putting up 4 ETH, and then the protected stakers are putting up 24 ETH.
At the same time, this means that the people that decide to put, well, the node operators and the people that have MEV stakers, they actually get the entire MEV revenue of a full 32 ETH, also only divided between these 8 ETH, right? So this is actually like, it's pretty positive as well.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody can choose which rewards they want and the risk level they want, and by dividing it, people can have a safer stake. The protected staking, it's safer, but it has higher yields. And then the people who are saying, "Hey, I want higher risk, higher rewards," they can take that option of being a node operator themselves or becoming a fees and mev staker.
Right on.
Mhm.
Okay, so you mentioned exiting. Exiting is a thing that has been worrying is a bit in the Dappnode community, because we're here for the long run. We're running our machines for a long time. But what happens if by any reason we got to put our 32 ETH, we got to put them out for whatever reason it is, maybe like like whatever it is. So you since how can somebody exit the pool? The node operators as well, and how does this look? How does this flow look?
Yeah, that is a good question. So, um, if somebody wants to leave, so every user has a right to leave the LSD network at any time. If you're a depositor or a staker, you can simply sell your LP tokens to someone else or burn the LP tokens to redeem ETH if it hasn't been staked yet. So if you put in ETH and it hasn't been staked yet, you simply remove it. Um, but as a node operator, you can withdraw your ETH as long as it's associated with a particular BLS key and it's not staked. Once a node operator has withdrawn the ETH, the LSD network will quarantine the BLS key associated to that specific deposit for any further deposit via LSD network. Also, depositors who bought the LP tokens from the BLS public key, so those are the fees and mev stakers, they can rotate their tokens to a new BLS public key.
And I assume all of these is easy to do on the UI. And is there any technical knowledge that people should have um, in order to rotate or to exit or stuff like that? Is there any command line if you're using Dappnodes where we know that?
I
So let's assume that the setting up of the node is we don't need to use it because that's what we do here in Dappnode.
mhm. Yeah, I would have to get back to you guys on that, on the exact, step-by-step process. But the idea is that anybody can leave at any time. Yeah, there might be a little process to it, but it's not saying that you're stuck in the system until withdrawals are enabled. It's saying that you can actually remove before that time.
Excellent, perfect. So now, if I understood correctly, and this is something quite exciting, We could basically get the Dappnode DAO to start a Dappnode DAO powered Lido, where people in the Dappnode community can start and can become node operators with 4 ETH. And we accept ETH from people that want to be protected stakers and MEV stakers from wherever in the world. And we sort of set ourselves up as a Dappnode powered pool or a Dappnode powered Lido, and we establish our own set of things. And maybe we could even like set up some sort of fee to give some revenue to the DAO and to like maybe fund more hardware for people and this sort of stuff. That'd be a good way of leveraging people that are already running validators. We know that adding one validator in your setup is very, very, very easy. If you're already running a validator, adding an extra, the marginal cost for adding an extra validator is very, very like pretty much negligible. So that could be a good way of monetizing and increasing the yield of everybody here. Would that be like easy to do?
Yes, you are spot on. It would be incredibly easy to do. It would take about 30 minutes, and all of the parameters that you wanted could be done. So, theoretically, could set it up and say, hey, the DAO wants to collect X amount of fees from the MEVs and fees. Staking, can leave the protected stakers alone because they're protected. They're special. But then can create this network and have all of these people join, bringing 4 ETH. If somebody's already running a Dappnode, already running validators, they just can come forward with, say, 4 ETH, and then source liquidity from anybody in the world who wants protected staking ETH. Anybody in the world who wants to collect MEVs and fees. All they have to do is get this network set up, and then people can come in and stake, and then these Dappnode operators can just pull liquidity to essentially get these validators up and running for 4 ETH and get half of all the MEVs and tips for doing so.
Half of all the MEV and tips, which basically means that with 4 ETH, you get half of the 32 ETH. So that's like actually a multiplier, not a divider.
Yes, exactly. It's, rough math.
Half is more.
Rough math, about 4 times what you're making now off of a validator on a per ETH basis. Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. So that seems like something that the Dappnode DAO could look into. That seems like it's pretty interesting. But there's one concern on my side. For example, we know that everybody here should know that Dappnodes, you can run Dappnode completely free. You can run Dappnode in a completely free and anonymous way. You download the software, you install it in your machine. You don't have to buy hardware from us. And you can start running Dappnode and maybe like try to join these LSD network, the Dappnode DAO LSD network. Let's call it a hypothetical one. So that means that attackers could also do this sort of thing. What are the attack vectors that people could try to attack this LSD network with? How can they screw us up?
Right. So that's the thing, is if somebody wants to come into the system and say they come in as a node operator and they want to wreak some havoc, well, they're tied to that node. So it's this idea of mutually assured destruction, where if somebody wants to come in and mess it up, they lose ETH as well. They get damaged, and that's the only way that people could do something like that. But it's the idea that if everybody's looking out for their own best interest, or everybody in the other sense that like nobody wants to get hurt, everything works wonderfully.
All right, now let's put another case. Let's put a case where something happens and there's been, for some reason, a tragic accident. The house burned down, and that means that my Dappnode burned down, but also wherever my mnemonic for this key store is also burned down. What like I assume that I am screwed. I have lost my 4 ETH. They're gone. But how can this screw up the rest of the people that are trusting me to run this validator?
Well, the thing is, with Stakehouse, there is an on-chain key loss recovery system. And the way that works is if you lose your validator keys and you need access to them again, they're available for you on chain. So if you do get into a fire burning situation where everything burns down, you can actually access your Stakehouse validator keys and get everything up and running again, assuming you still have access to the wallet that you set it up with.
All right, that is excellent. That is super cool. That is actually super cool information. Now let's say that I'm going to get a little bit dark here, but let's say that I was inside of the house as well. So I will not be able to recover this like forever, unfortunately. So how would how am I screwing up other users?
Okay, so if you're not getting anything, that validator is gone, is what you're saying.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
what the system allows is if every time that a validator has leakage, some of the fractional shares of that validator are lost. So that's where the leakage occurs, is on these fractional shares. And what people can do then is purchase up these fractional shares. So if a validator is leaking or lost, so say your validator is completely lost in a fire, it is gone. What can happen is people can start to buy up these fractional shares as it starts to leak, and once 2 ETH worth of fractional shares are gone, they could actually rotate and run that validator on the node, keeping all of the other LPs, all of the other fees and MEV stakers, all the protected stakers earning, so that the validator doesn't completely go offline.
So you have a system where after 2 ETH, these keys that were after leaking 2 ETH, these keys that were saved for recovery, they can be rotated, they can be given to somebody else.
So after leaking 2 ETH, but there is always the optionality to top up the validator and to bring that ETH back into your validator and purchase those tokens back yourself. So yes, it can be rotated, but it would have to be somebody who basically decided they're not going to run the validator, and they're not going to run it, and they're not going to take care of it, they're not going to top it up. And it's basically, if the validator is pretty much neglected, I think with leakage now, to leak 2 ETH would probably take the better part of 2 years. So it's assuming that within that 2 years time, this person would take some sort of corrective action prior to that point.
Right on. Okay, yeah, perfect. Got it. So, okay. I feel like this is a risk reward ratio, like an acceptable risk for setting up something like that. All right, let's go back maybe to the questions. There's like the chat has been on fire and we have like around 10 more minutes. So let's go
Great.
back to the questions.
Yeah.
Is there anything you already know that you want to answer?
No, I've been trying to keep up with some, but I think some people in the chat are helping out as well, which is great.
Oh, there's a mention here on open source, and I
Mhm.
think this is correct. Everything
So
is.
LSD networks are completely open source. Yes. Stakehouse is foremost. So Stakehouse is this base layer, right? And then LSD Networks is built on top as a way to make things easier for people who want to create an LSD network. So Stakehouse is formally verified. Certora, runtime verification. There's audits by Halburn, Solidified, audit by runtime verification. So some of the best security partners out there. And then LSD Networks is open source and it's built on top of that coordination and delegation protocol.
Cool. So there's a couple of mentions to the business model. A few people have been discussing like, okay, what's the business model here? Because it's very clear for if we set up a Dappnode DAO LSD network, we could have we could charge a fee, right? Which brings me to a side question, which is, does this fee come from the protected stakers, from the MEV?
So MEVs and fees, yeah, it's taken as a proportion of the MEVs and fees. So that is entirely optional, the rate on which that is commissioned. It doesn't have to be commissioned at all, but a little bit for a DAO makes a lot of sense to help with coordination, as I'm sure there's a lot of other activities and can expand the business by having a little bit of a stream coming in. Everybody chips in, and it can go a long way. But
Right,
Stakehouse
exactly.
itself and the LSD networks don't charge a commission. So, and like basically, it's whatever people want to put on top, and they don't have to worry about this big brother looking to get a cut.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense if you're running this LSD, for example, like as a collective of node runners, that what they're optimizing for is to optimize the performance of their machines. They want to get as much validators running there as they can, because for each one that they run with only 4 ETH, they would be able to multiply their MEV rewards as well, right? So here it makes sense, because then there's marketing activities that can be done to increase the amount of people putting on the protected staking side. So here it makes sense. But again, this doesn't answer the question of what's your business model? Well, you're not taking any fees, so why do you do all of this?
Right. So good question. This is another one that usually comes up. So Stakehouse is intended as a public benefit infrastructure. The idea is to bring ETH staking to everybody and anyone, make it very simple to use. And those who join, those who want the advantages that only Stakehouse can offer, there may be, I don't want to commit to anything, there may be opportunities in the future to run some other things that would have the ability to make sure that everybody is in a better place than they were when not in a Stakehouse LSD network or a Stakehouse. Does that kind of answer your question without me giving away things that I can't talk about?
All right, secretive. Okay, I hope the big reveal is not we put a backdoor in the contracts, and after enough value locked, we'll just rug everybody. But I think the contracts have been audited, so I guess we can check, and they're open source, so we can check that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can. Yeah, we have all the security audits. They're posted. For LSD Networks, we just did a code competition with Code for Arena, and yeah, so you can check out all of that. The LSD Networks, the code is open source. There's tons of information out there on all of this. We have formal documentation. If people want to take a deep dive, there's the position paper. There's 100-page audit reports. And if people want something that's just simple, we also have a help center and our website and YouTube, and there's just a ton of information. However, you want to digest it. If you want to hear somebody talk to you some more, head to the YouTube. You want to do some reading, head to the docs. You want to do a deep dive, find your way to the security page and the research page, and whatever way you want to process whatever information you need, that's fine. So if you have any further questions, there is a shared channel in the Dappnode and Blockswap Discord. It is called Stakehouse here, I believe. Yes, it is Stakehouse under the Friends category. Also, feel free to DM me directly. I'm always happy to answer questions if people need anything. For better or for worse, my DMs are open. I get a lot of bad messages, but I also check and there's a lot of good messages. So happy to answer people's questions and get people started. In very shortly, we will be doing a test net, and part of that test net, it will be an incentivized test net. People can come in and try out all of these different things. If you wanted to try out this Dappnode DAO LSD network, you can try it out there. If you want to see what it's like to be a node operator, you can try that out. If you want to be whatever it might be. And if you guys don't have, it'll be super easy to use. Pretty much the exact app that I showed you, and you can come in and try it all for yourself.
Right on. Okay, very quickly, let's maybe do a recap of the timings for these validators and when should the deposit happen and when can they expect the decision to be. Can we have some timing on when this is going to be available?
Right. So if I'm not mistaken, what you're asking is you're asking about.
Yep. So in order to
this right here, the actual giveaway. So somebody comes in as a node operator, you stake for ETH, and not until, because there is so much optionality, we don't lock people's ETH at all or anywhere. The Ethereum deposit contract might lock your ETH, but Stakehouse can't do that. So if you come in, you stake 4 ETH as a node operator, you can always pull that ETH back if you want. You can always claw that back if you don't stake the validator. So you need that validator actually staked. And then you fill out a form, you'll hear back from me, and then if you've done the staking and everything looks good and there's Dappnodes available, not everybody else has taken one, we will ship you a Dappnode. And then you will get it in, can't quote shipping times, but then you'll receive it and everything should be good from, it takes about 30 minutes to set up the Dappnode, so you will be up and running. But that ETH does need to be staked, just because there is so much fluidity with Stakehouse, where we don't lock people's assets just because they deposited them. If it's not staked in the Ethereum deposit contract, people should be able to withdraw. So we just don't want people to stake ETH and withdraw before they actually stake the ETH with the validator.
Oh, of course. Is there going to be, well, you already mentioned there's going to be a testnet. So a lot of people are saying that they might feel more comfortable using the products on testnet before. So when is this testnet going to be live?
Very shortly. If you follow us in our Discord or join us on Twitter. Also, if you want to shoot me a DM now and say, hey, let me know when the testnet's live, we can post it in the shared Stakehouse channel. If you get anywhere near us, we will make some noise when the testnet is live, and we will make sure that as long as you're checking one of our channels or you're chatting with me, whatever it might be.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. So it seems like there's been already some people that took on the idea on creating a Dappnode DAO sub DAO that manages this. This has happened in the Stakehouse channel in this Discord, which, thanks to the magic of technology, is bridged to the Blockswap server. So everything that you guys write in there will also be seen in the Blockhouse server, and everything that's written in the Dappnode channel in the Blockswap server will be seen in here. But the best thing is to join both Discords. So please do join the Blockswap team, Blockswap Network Discord, and yeah, I think I would love to explore this idea of creating the first LSD, and start poking at Lido and the big players here and saying, hey, actually, node operators, solo stakers, we can run this shit as well. We can run the show. And if you can help us do that, if you can help us create alternatives to them, then that's bloody awesome. So thank you very much, Derek.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. It was great to chat with everybody.
All right, we have posted the Discord link into the community Hangouts. Maybe post it as well in the Stakehouse channel, or in general. Feel free to advertise yourself everywhere. And voila, because this is awesome, and I'm really looking forward to that. And once we know exactly when and how and the direct instructions, Santiago makes a very good point. He'll just share a link with the instructions for people who want to stake and participate in the Stakehouse Dappnode giveaway. We will share the link with the exact instructions in order to do that. So stay tuned, and the place to be is going to be the Stakehouse channel right here.
Best place.
Am I forgetting anything, Derek?
No, you pretty much covered it all.
Perfect. Then thank you again. Thank you for coming. Thank you for showing this. This is really cool tech. And it's I think it's on us now to take the baton and start poking at the big ones. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Have an excellent one.